welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. So glad to have you all with me tonight for another segment of The Best Investments. I am Mona-Lee Belizaire for those of you who are not familiar with me. And tonight I am so excited to continue our part two of the Leap series. So make sure as you coming in, you're telling friends, you're telling your family members, you're sharing it with everybody because we want to make sure that your face is in the place. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Mona-Lee Belizaire. I am a personal growth strategist. I am specifically, love to work with young women, young adult women who are trying to move from where they are to where they want to be. So welcome you all, welcome, welcome, welcome. And tonight I am so excited to have my friend on, Stephanie Kilson Thomas. She's going to be talking with us tonight about her own leap story, where she leaped from being in corporate America into entrepreneurship. And so we know that a lot of people jump into entrepreneurship for various reasons. They come from various places, when they first start their own business. So tonight she's going to share that with us. But before we get started, I just want to also share just a little bit of information with me for those of you all who are not familiar with who I am. And so I told you that I'm a personal growth strategist, but I'm also the creator of I Am Choosing Me movement. I have my shirt on here that says I Am Choosing Me. And so it is a movement that's dedicated to women who want to, to empower them really to make sure that they are choosing themselves in every area of their lives. And so we, for me, it's important for us to make sure that, women are, understanding who they are, they're understanding their purpose, they're understanding that they're chosen, they're understanding that they're treasured possessions. And so that's a part of I Am Choosing Me. And tonight you're on for the best investment. So this is my weekly segment that I do on IG, 7 p.m. every Thursday. And it's just an opportunity for you all to come into this space and for me to share with you tips and insights on how you can invest in yourself. And so I see Stephanie is on, she's in here. So let me see if I can get her in here. Let's see. Do. And while we wait for that, please make sure that you are sharing it. And I did that just now by myself. I'm so excited.
Hi.
Hey. Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful, darling. How are you?
I am so great. I'm so excited about this.
Me too. Thank
Yay!
you, thank you, thank you.
Good. So I was just telling folks about myself doing my spiel, so we're not going to belabor the time, but I want to just say thank you so very much for agreeing to come on in to talk about your own leap story. And I told them a little bit, but I don't know, a lot to tell them anyway. But this is just a space for us to just talk about your own story. Talk about how you made that transition, what it all entails, right? Because you did something that a lot of people want to do, don't know how to do, maybe scared to do it. And so we're going to get into it. So tell us about Stephanie. Who is Stephanie?
Who am I? Okay, so me. I am a wife, a mother, living here in Dallas, Texas. From Fort Lauderdale, Florida, originally a proud graduate of Florida A&M University. Graduated with my MBA back in 2008 and have been working, really spent 15 years in corporate America since graduating. And last year, as you mentioned, had to take the leap into entrepreneurship. And really right now still finding it for me,
Okay. Yeah.
and trying to make it all work and hopefully one day get back to where I was in corporate America with my business.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's a nice segue. And I'm glad you mentioned that because many people don't understand that there's several arms and opportunities in entrepreneurship. So not just, once you land into something, that doesn't mean that that's what you have to do your entire time. So
Right.
go a little bit deeper into your leap story. Tell us about how it all happened. Were you in the car one day and you're like, God, I can't do this no more. These people gonna drive me crazy. I gotta go. Like,
So,
how did that happen?
so my story is, it's quite interesting because when you talk about the conversations that you have with God and what you want to do with your life. So prior to me starting my travel agency in 2018, it started as a side business for me. A friend from high school was like, I think you'd be great at this. I think you should do it. And I was like, no, I don't think it's just not for me. But as I started to think about it and really get into it, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do this. So started
Mhm.
off as something small. And from 2018 to January of 2020, the huge leap that my business saw. And as I started to really work, and I'm like, okay, Stephanie, you really, really, really can do this. Let's start reaching
Mhm.
out and figuring out how you can really grow your business. That's when I started to realize, okay, I can do this. So January 2020, I'll never forget, I was talking to a coworker. I said, you know what? I'm giving this corporate thing 5 more years. That's it for me. And I want to do this full time. I'm going to save, do what I've got to do so that I can walk away with my head held high and say,
Mhm.
I'm going into this full time. God said, we're not going to wait 5 years. I'm going to give you about 2 more months. And so, unfortunately, I ended up losing my job like right when COVID was announced as a pandemic. And it
Mhm.
was absolutely devastating. Like, I had never experienced anything in that magnitude before, on top of everything else that was going on in the world. And I'm thinking about what's going on in my world. So,
Mhm.
of course, naturally, I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. There's no reason why I'm not going to find a new job. I'm going to go, and it is going to be a quick turnaround process. So I'm
Mhm.
applying. I get one job. It's not what I want, but we were also in the midst of buying a house. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll do what I need to do so that we can close on this house, and everything went well. And then I
Right.
lost that job too. And then I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
God, what are you
What
trying
do
to
you
tell
do?
me? Like what's
You're like,
going
God, you
on?
got jokes, huh? You
Right.
stand
Because
up
it's like,
nice.
I've got all this experience. Why am I not getting a job?
Mhm.
So I was blessed to randomly meet another young travel agent. She's based in Atlanta, and I ended up finding her because she commented on a wedding planner in Mexico's post. So I was like, I'm gonna connect with her. So I connected with her, talked to her, and as we were getting to know each other in conversation, she actually just left her position as a CPA to do her travel agency full time,
Oh,
and she
wow.
had been in the industry. I think now she's been in the industry like 12 years. And so, just talking to her, I was like, maybe I could do it, maybe I can't. But I was still applying, still trying to find that corporate job. And I had 2 interviews in January of this year. And one of them, I made it all the way to interview with the CEO. I was like, okay, this is it for me. I'm going back to corporate America. I'm good.
Mhm.
Found out maybe a week later that I didn't get the job. So I was like, okay, now it's time for me to really sit down and have a serious conversation with God and with my
Mhm.
husband, because
Mhm.
going from making 135K a year in just salary alone to nothing. The
Nothing.
pandemic,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
aren't traveling because it's a pandemic. All these
Yeah.
rules and regulations that we were experiencing had weddings cancel. I had other trips to bachelorette trips and things like that to cancel, and it was truly a struggle. I was like,
Mhm.
God, what am I gonna do? But through the encouragement of my friend Shantae, who's the travel agent that I was speaking of earlier, and then also just leaning on my husband, for us to just say, we've got this. We're going to be okay. Here we are. We in this brand new house,
Mhm.
you know,
We don't
with
have no choice. We gonna have to
we
make
don't
it.
have a choice. We really don't. So, this was a test that really showed me what I was truly made of and what I was
Mhm.
capable of doing. And God has blessed me tremendously because I've remained faithful, and not only being faithful, but doing the work that needs to be done
Yeah.
to continue to grow a business. We're still going through, still going through it with the pandemic, and just have to adjust and keep pushing. Yeah.
That's good. And so, it's easy, right? So you're like, okay, God, I'm gonna, go with this. You probably went to your husband, he was very supportive. But what was it like behind the scenes for you, Stephanie? Because as Black women, as Caribbean women, we work, we have a plan, we know what we're doing. What was it like behind the scenes for you, as you're processing everything, as you're having your conversations with God? What did that look like?
A lot of it was disbelief,
Mhm.
because, like I said earlier, I couldn't imagine that I would have been out of work for so long,
Mm,
because I'm like, I've got all these awards, I've done this, I've done that, and my resume is stellar. Why aren't I, getting picked up? And so at times I questioned who I was. I
mhm.
questioned, what was I doing,
Yeah.
and had to not let myself get into a state where I felt like I was nothing or I couldn't do anything.
Mhm.
Um, but I knew that I had my business, and I knew that it was something I was passionate about. And I knew that it was something that I loved. So I really had to dig deep within myself and pull that strength not only from myself but from God to say, hey, this is what you asked for. It wasn't when you
Ah,
asked for it,
okay.
but you asked for it.
Yeah.
This is what you prayed for,
Yes.
And so I really had to just get outside of myself and really focus on what God was telling me to do and move forward that
Mm.
way.
That's good. That's good. And I see Abigail commented saying this is so good and needed in this season. It definitely is because with COVID, either one of two things happened with people in COVID. Either they sort of, really had an opportunity to sit down and really process and really reflect, or COVID really sort of took them to a place where they didn't necessarily want to be.
Right.
And I think for many of us, it was really a time of reflection, right? So I always say is either God's going to either sit you down on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
or he's going to allow something to happen to sit you down. And
Yes.
so, I think it's really important that you mentioned, that you talk specifically about you as a person, because these things can make you feel like, well, like listen, I'm a degreed person, like I don't understand why you find a job, but I've been in a job, right? But I love the way how God does stuff, because I always say, if you don't get in line, either God's gonna get in line for you, or you gonna find somebody else to do it for you.
Right.
But he was so gracious and so kind, to say, okay, well, I'm gonna let these things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that you can see, I need you to get into this space.
Right.
So now that you're into this space, you are a full-time job, and I've seen your post, and it is absolutely nothing but the grace of God, truly. And I'm just from the outside looking in. It's not like I talk to you all the time, but you have just been moving and shaking. You've been traveling. Your husband and your son have been able to go. Like, tell us about this whole thing. Like, what it's been like since you have taken this leap.
Whew. So I feel like now I'm just about living the life that I was meant to live.
Aw, I
Because
love that. Well,
yes.
what's that, incorporate? Tell us a little bit about that too. Like, what is the life that you wanted to live?
So I used to, back in 2013, the first time I got laid off in pharmaceutical sales. I remember telling myself, like, when I was looking for a job, I'm like, okay, I want something that I can travel. I want to, travel, travel for work. Essentially, that's what I was like always wanted to do. And with one of my jobs, I was able to do that. Like, because you want to get like all the hotel points, and you want to get the
Yeah.
airline, frequent flyers and all stuff like that. And so I was like, this is back in 2013, almost 10 years ago. I'm like, I want a job that allows me, like, want to travel for work. And then
Hmm.
here I am, literally, that's what I do. This is the first time ever I've taken 5 international trips in one year. And all of it
Wow.
has been for
During
work.
a pandemic.
During the pandemic, yes, 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 yes. So I'm living a dream that, something that I wanted to do, that I spoke into existence, almost 10 years ago. That, who I don't think there's any other industry that you can work in that you can go to Jamaica and go to the Dominican Republic and go to Mexico twice, in
Hmm.
1 year, and not really have much to worry about, because this is work. This is what I do. I'm meeting with, wedding planners at resorts, touring properties, meeting with, group coordinators and things of that nature. It's just something that this is what I wanted, and didn't think back then that I was manifesting, for this far,
Right.
this point in my life. But that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm so excited. And then when I think about all of the networking that this has allowed for me, to do. So we talk about the travel and talk about my social media, but the connections I've made with, companies like Black Bride magazine that literally repost
Right.
my
Right.
stuff. It is just like, are you serious? This is the
Right.
life I'm living right now. Like, I actually have, and I'll a little humble brag, I have who I consider to be a celebrity following my Instagram page because of the networking I've done with Black Bride magazine. So it's just like, I don't think I could have ever imagined this for myself.
Yeah. And I really, and as I mentioned earlier, I got an opportunity to sort of see what's going on. And, people have said, people, like you said, people weren't traveling, people weren't going anywhere during the pandemic. They were scared to travel, but
Mm-hmm.
look at, like, your business was thriving during the
Yes.
pandemic. Because I've
Yes,
seen
yes,
some of
yes.
your posts where you're like, 2021 is gone for the rest of the year. Half of 2022 is gone. If y'all want to get on it, get in on it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, talk about also, because a lot of times, when things happen, we get excited, but we always don't get the opportunity to sit and process everything that has gone on. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I think it's important, that when things happen, when God has given us these great opportunities, that we take some time to reflect. And sometimes, in the busyness of all that's going on, we don't get a chance to sit. But tell us a little bit about what your conversations have been like with God now during this season, and sort of, in the midst of all that's still going on, and,
Mm-hmm.
how things have showed up for you.
So I would say 2020 was really the time to sit and be still,
Hmm.
because all these trips were being canceled. Bachelorette trips being canceled, honeymoons being canceled or being pushed off, you know, to 2021, 2022. So 2020 was my sit down, think about this, process it,
Okay.
and figure out how are you going to move on from this situation. Excuse me. So conversations with God were like, okay, I didn't get this job. I didn't get
Hmm.
this job. Maybe should I stop applying, or is it, you can, because you start to ask, well, is it me? Is it that this job just wasn't right for me? Um,
Yeah.
is it that, you know, this is not the space I need to be in? You're juggling it and you're thinking about all these things, because, like, even though there was like a sort of a standstill with travel and everything
Hmm.
else, life was still going on, and it was hard for me to understand and find my place and know what was I supposed to do.
Yeah.
There was this one position that I applied for, and I tell you, I just knew it was my I knew there was nothing telling me that, that this job wasn't mine. The hiring manager was an Omega. The company was a black run pharmaceutical sales company. It was a company that targeted a disease state that specifically impacted black people. And I'm
Hmm.
like, who else better than me to get this job? And
Yeah.
so I just knew, I was like, hands down, this is my job. I mean, showed
Yeah.
out in the interview process, did all this extra stuff, and then to get that call that I didn't get the job.
Yeah.
It was like the most devastating thing.
Yeah.
But those are the messages that God sends you to let you know greater is out there for you.
Yes.
This
Yes.
looks
Yes.
good, this sounds good, but it's not good for you.
Right. That's key.
So it was a lot of that conversation, that messaging, God, if this isn't for me, then what is? Then what is? Then what is? And so that's what led me in 2021 in January when I applied for these two jobs. And I'm like, okay, if I don't get either of these, I have to give up. Like, not necessarily, and it's not even giving up. It's you have to accept now what he's giving you
Yeah.
and use it. You have the tools that you need to go out and be successful. He's given you all of this, and he prepared me for this back in 2018, but I wasn't
Mm.
thinking about that then. I was just thinking about how can I get these taxes lower. I wasn't thinking about truly being independent, truly working for myself, building a legacy for my son. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about how are these lights gonna stay on? How's this new house gonna get paid for?
Right.
How am I gonna keep going? How am I gonna get back to where I was? And it was tough. And Samantha, girl, you right, girl.
Yeah.
You right,
But
honey.
so when so when you talk about so you made the leap from corporate America to entrepreneurship, what was required of you after you made that decision? So, I know you talk, obviously, there are some sacrifices that you had to make financially. I'm sure there's some sacrifices that you probably had to make, maybe in your marriage too, in terms of, okay, I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to be gone. But I've seen several times that you had the opportunity to bring your husband on. You got into a place where you wanted to be, right? And I want to go
Mm-hmm.
back to something you talked about, traveling for work. So you have a nice traveling for work. I don't want to ever travel for work in my job because the paperwork is too much. So, people are like, I want to travel for work. I'm like, you may not want to travel for work depending on where you're, but you're in
Right.
such a sweet spot. So talk a little bit about what was required of you after you made the decision, after you made that leap from corporate America to full-time entrepreneurship.
So it was a lot of sacrifice. It was a lot of
Mm,
sacrifice because, like I mentioned, I'm going from, a six-figure salary to not even being able to pay myself because
mm,
I've got business bills to take care of, or trips aren't happening as frequently because the
yeah,
industry is
because of the
just starting to
pandemic.
pick back up. So it had a lot to do, a lot of soul searching and sacrifice, having to understand, like, okay, you can't do this anymore, you can't do that
Yeah.
anymore. And I'd have to
You
say,
can't brunch.
right. And it was a perfect storm once again because of the pandemic. I wasn't going out to eat as often
Hmm.
because I didn't want to go out and catch COVID, or I didn't want to bring anything back home. So
Yeah.
it was really like a perfect storm, but had to really learn to let go of some of those things that I was accustomed to. Like, I can't tell you the last time I bought myself something.
Yeah.
But it's because you got to sacrifice, and you got to understand,
Yeah.
like, what are the
Sacrifices.
things that are important. The bills get paid, food is always on the table, the little one is in school, he's happy, husband's happy, the family is
Hmm.
happy. That's always, had to be the focus. It was always the focus, but it hit a little different, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It was just like, so we also have to now have those tough conversations, because when the commission check does come in and you're feeling really good and you want to do this, it's like,
Yeah. Hmm.
"Ah,
I'm sure.
I get it. You're doing good right now, but we've got to continue to plan for the future. We've got to, work on, you know, building, rebuilding our
Yeah.
savings, and, the things that we had to go through, getting the house and sustaining, trying to, make up for the lost income. We've got to be strategic, even more strategic now than we
Yeah.
were
Hmm.
before, because we don't know what's going to happen again in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also too, like, you know, we like the security of a paycheck, right? Somebody's already doing your taxes, somebody's already doing your health insurance. I mean, all that's already taken
Yeah.
care of. So even that in and of itself is a sacrifice, because
Yes, it
now you really
is.
have to sort of be on top of that stuff, or, you know, find someone that you trust to sort of do that. But,
Right.
you know, the one thing I really love about God is that the pieces are already in play for him. You know, we don't
Mm-hmm.
always see it, but he's already worked out every single piece,
Yep.
every single thing. He's already thought through everything, of every concern, right? So, you know, it says that he's all, you know, he's perfecting that which concerns us. And so he's always perfecting and thinking about. So obviously, you know, this is your first time, you know, you may have, you were doing it on the side, but now you got to really, really, really do it. So you really got
Yep.
to pay Uncle Sam. You really got to make sure you're happy in the church and all this other stuff.
Yes.
But you took the leap, and it all worked out, and worked out in such a beautiful way. And I keep saying, you know, like, I get to see, obviously, from, you know, from Instagram, the travels and all the other stuff. And I'm sure back in 2018 he, you know, was preparing you then, and then now, or 2013, and you come full circle
Right.
now. And, you know, like, you're booked, like, you're really booked and busy. You know,
Really,
you may have to
really
hire
booked and
somebody
busy.
soon. So for those who are online with us, and for those who have joined us while we're talking, thank you so very much. If you want to share with us your own leap story, or you have any questions, please feel free to put it in a chat. But I want to wind down here a little bit and really give you an opportunity to speak to those that are watching us, and those who are going to watch the replay, and talk with them, share with them about you know, what would you say to them, someone who is on the verge of their own leap story? They may be in sort of, you know, that limbo where you
Mm-hmm.
may have been, or they may have a similar situation, or they want to take a leap. So they have the security of a job, right? But they know that there's more. They know that God's calling them to more, and they want to take that leap. You know, what would you say to them? What would be helpful for them to know?
So one thing that I have learned, I would say my travel agent mentor, he
Mm-hmm.
says this all the time, and because there are other travel agents who want to do it, they you know they want to leave their job and do this full
Yeah.
time,
Mm-hmm.
and they see the benefit in it, and the flexibility they get. Like, you know, now I'm volunteering at my son's. I'm going to start volunteering every Monday and Friday because I own my
Mm-hmm.
schedule. You know, I do the things that I want to do when I want to do them, but also still have time to work and still help provide for my family. But one thing that he always says is do it scared.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do it scared.
Absolutely.
And we're always going to want to put things off until it's the right time. It's almost like with people who this is funny. It's when people say I'm not ready to have kids, or I don't think I'm ready to have a baby yet. Nobody's ever ready to become a parent.
You're never
Nobody, no
ready.
matter how old you are,
I'm
how
still not ready,
successful you
and I'm 15 years in, because you're learning something new
yes,
all the
all the
time.
time. So it's like there's never a good time, you know, really a good time to say, you know, I'm going to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost the same thing as, you know, leaving the comfort of a 9 to 5 and
Mm-hmm.
going into entrepreneurship. Do it scared, but do understand that the comfort that you get out of a 9 to 5, you're not going to find that in entrepreneurship, especially
Right.
when you're starting out in your you've got all these goals, these dreams of wanting to be successful. It's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is not. I will be the
Yeah.
first to say it is
I
not
can imagine.
glamorous. Um, but you have to know within yourself that this is truly what I want, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to
Yeah.
make this
To
work.
get there.
But that takes a lot of
Yeah.
prayer, and a lot of support. Um, and the support part is extremely important because I
Very.
I'm not even going to say I don't think. I know I could not have done this without my
Yeah.
husband, without his
Mm.
support, without his faith.
Shout out to the
I,
hubby.
I could, yes, I
Big
could
up,
not.
hubby.
I absolutely could not do it without him. So do it scared. You know, just get the
Yeah.
pieces, as many pieces as you can in place. Savings is important. Have that
Mm-hmm. Yep.
available. because it's going to take time to, build the business up
To get, yeah.
and
So,
then starting to see a return. That's going to take some time. So definitely have that in place. If you had to do one thing, I would say the savings is absolutely the most important thing to have in place so that you can comfortably take that leap. And also go into it with the mindset of knowing that it's going to take time for things to progress.
yeah,
I do think that's one of the things that I wasn't prepared for. Um, Taking any and every job, working at late at night, up sometimes 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, working on proposals for people for them to just disappear, and
yeah,
decide not to book the trip and things of that nature. So it's also, you do it scared because it's a learning process as well. And you've got to be open to knowing that, like I said, you're not going to come in here the first day and make a whole bunch of money. You're gonna fall, you're gonna cry, you're gonna bruise your knee, you're gonna, bump an elbow here and there.
yeah,
It's work. It's really,
yeah.
really work. But you have to know
Work.
within your heart and have that confidence to know that this too shall pass.
Yeah.
You have
And
to
I
know
think
that it's gonna pass.
it's so important too to for us to really grant ourselves grace if we're, when we're going through this. So, and if you're someone who is already in a job, there's a little bit more flexibility there. So you're having some security, obviously, with a
Mm-hmm.
paycheck and, security. Because at any time, they can say, we're going to pull you out from the shelf. But
Mm-hmm.
there is some, there's some security there. But so you get to do the work. But I think also you grant yourself some grace, but I think it's also important for you to ask for what you want, even in the entrepreneurship space, because a lot of times, we see, or we may feel like we're just going to take anything that comes our way or take
Mm-hmm.
anything that we get, but you have to be responsible for setting up yourself, because even if you wanted clients, there's certain clients you're just not going to work with, and that
Absolutely.
has to be okay.
Yep, you've got to know your worth. That's
Mm-hmm.
another thing we talk about a lot, with being an entrepreneur. Because to your point, it's like any and everything that comes your way, you're gonna want to take it, because
Yeah.
you're just
Mm-hmm.
thinking that this is an opportunity for me to make money, or what we should look at it as is this is an opportunity for me to learn,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
they're like all these bumps and bruises, they heal. You learn from it, you move on, you know what to do next time and what not to do next time. It's all in the game. It's really
Yeah.
all in the game.
And how do you one last question, and certainly if anybody has questions, please drop them in the comments so we can ask while we're online. How did you navigate, I would say, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your heart, of you being a travel agent amongst like 50 million travel agents and 50 million travel agencies? Like, what did you do to set yourself apart, and how do you continue to make sure that you are in a place, whether it's a niche or like how is your business set up? And then also, before we close out, please tell us about your business and where we can find you, so we
Oh,
can make sure that folks are
absolutely.
following you and getting the hookup, because y'all, she has hooked up my sister-in-law, she's hooked up my cousin, so she's doing her thing, y'all. So, get in. If you
Yes.
don't want to plan no trip, you have somebody who can plan it for
Yeah,
you.
leave it to me. Leave it to me. Um, but how did I navigate through it? The networking was the first
Hmm.
thing. Well, let me back up a little bit. Finding my niche and understanding my
Yeah.
niche
Okay.
and where I wanted to go, and understanding in this space, how could I be successful? And when you're thinking about travel, there's so many different, you can do, corporate travel,
Hmm.
incentive travel, destination weddings, religious travel,
Mm.
wellness travel. There's so many different things you can do as a travel agent. But I decided I wanted to do destination weddings. I love weddings.
Okay.
Um, I love being married and want to work with couples to help them experience the same wedded bliss that I did. Granted, I didn't do a destination wedding, but want to, I always tell couples, thank you for letting me be a small part in your big day. So first it was finding a niche. The second thing was the networking. As I
Okay.
mentioned, reaching out to, and now I've been working with Black Bride Magazine for 2 years. where now what one thing I learned about myself is I'm now a published, like, travel agent. I've been in their magazine twice now, going on 3 times for their winter
Right.
issue coming up. So, I've been able to branch out into different things in the travel industry because I'm focusing my business on destination weddings. The second thing is understanding the customer and the client that I want. So anybody that visits my travel agency's Instagram page, the first thing you see is Black-owned travel agency. I'm a proud Black woman, proud Black entrepreneur,
Yes.
proud Black travel
Yes.
agent. So that's the first thing anybody sees when they visit my page. And my goal with being a travel agent and working at destination weddings is helping Black couples realize that dream of destination weddings, because some people don't think that they can have a destination wedding.
Yeah.
And think that it's harder than it actually is. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because goodness gracious, I see one of my brides is on here. Hi, Natalie. But it's a process, and
Yeah, it's a process.
I want to be, my goal is, hey, Tiff, my goal is to be that resource for my couples, so that when they know that they have somebody they can reach out to, somebody they can lean on for support,
the connection,
and work with them to get them to their goal. And I tell my couples all the time, I'm just here as support. I'm here to get you there. This is your wedding. I always want my couples to feel comfortable and confident in the decisions they make for their wedding. I'm just here as support. I'm here as reinforcement when, the resort's not reaching back out, or if, you've got questions and nobody's answering you. So that's the role I play with my clients. And that helps me to continue to grow and learn and build the relationships that I need to with these resorts to deliver a high level of customer service to my clients. So I call myself the destination wedding matchmaker because I literally help some couples from the very beginning. They're like, we don't know where we want to go. We don't know a hotel, or if we want to do an offsite wedding. We just know we want a destination wedding. So through consultations and reaching out to hotels, getting availability, and putting them with the place that's going to be the best fit for them, I help make that match for my couples so that they're able to have the destination wedding that they dream of. Yeah, so that's ideally what I do at KT Travel and More.
That's good. And I like how you talk about the your client, right? Because sometimes when we say customer, it feels so aloof. But your client, like you work with them, you nurture the relationship, you make sure that they feel comfortable, and that they that they are secure. I mean, because you're spending money, you're going someplace that you probably don't know, about the culture and everything. So like, you are that type of person. And I think it's important that when we're getting into entrepreneurship, we're getting into space, we really understand what it is to really build a relationship with our clients. And you positioned it in such a way that and your business, so that people can they feel invited to come in, right? And you also host a couples retreat. I don't know if that's something that, I think it's public, right?
Yes. I you can't see, but I got my shirt on from this year's trip.
Yes. There's also a couples trip. So there's so many things, as you mentioned, and going back to what I had said earlier, so many times when folks start out in entrepreneurship, they may feel like they have to stay in that one place. But you even talked about so many different types of areas that you can go into the travel space, destination. You can do religious trips. You can do, there's a niche, right? So I thank you so much for sharing about finding a niche, and then also the network. That's really important. And so there's also a part about doing the work, but from what I can hear from you, and from what I see also, you love what you do, right? So even though it is work, because we're always, we are required to do the work, it doesn't seem like you're toiling. And I keep saying, I don't want to toil in this life. The Lord did not call us to toil. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what they be like, millionaires don't sleep. Listen, I'm going to sleep when I become a billionaire,
I
okay?
know that's
This
right.
billionaire Belizaire going to sleep. Because all I do is sleep now, so I don't think the sleep going to leave me. I want to sleep, okay?
You
So,
are hilarious.
it's important for us to really be realistic. And that's why I say, ask for what you want, because you may just not be the type of person that's really, gonna just drive in the ground and slave all the time.
Right.
Maybe your business could afford you the opportunity to only work 5 hours a month. And that's a good place to be in,
I wish.
right? So that you're not slaving all the time. You get to spend time with your husband, your family, your children. You get to go places you didn't get to go. So, thank you for sharing this information and providing a space where individuals who are thinking about taking leap into entrepreneurship, who maybe want to leave their secure job of corporate America, but they know that there's something else and there's someone, and you're enjoying doing what God has called you to do, right? Because we always think, sometimes some of us, we think ministry needs to be in the four walls of the church, or
Right.
ministry has to have a biblical backing,
Right.
but you can be your ministry can be in the space in travel, right? Because what are
Absolutely.
you doing if you are presenting to people um the character of God through how you deal with your clients, so they will see
Absolutely.
something so different about Stephanie. Man, you have to go with Stephanie. When I tell you, there was just such peace with working with her. I just felt so much joy. Like, that's God,
Yep.
right? And you don't
Absolutely.
have to go there and be like, the Lord said,
Right.
you ain't got to do all that, you ain't got to quote the whole of Psalm, but your presence, your demeanor, your correct, the characteristics, who you are, is enough to show the love of Jesus Christ. And so I
Amen.
think that's important for us to say, as believers and who are in the marketplace or who are in different spaces. So tell us where we can find you on social media, all of your
Yes.
handles, and what's coming up for you. She's already booked for 2022, y'all. So
Right. So my Instagram is at KT Travel and More. So the word
mm-hmm.
and is spelled out AND and it's MORE. Sometimes I have people ask me, is it MOORE? But MORE. So you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find me at KT Travel and More LLC. So what do I have coming up? So July 21st through the 24th, 2022. I'm so excited. We are hosting our second annual couples getaway.
Yeah.
And that is taking place in the Dominican Republic at Secrets Royal Beach in Punta Cana. Very, very, very excited. We had an amazing time in Huatulco, Mexico this year. Not too many people know about Huatulco, and it was a good opportunity to try to put it out there for other people to experience it,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
literally it is where the Mexicans go to vacation. They don't go to Cancun, they don't go to Cabo, they go to, excuse me, Huatulco, and it's an amazing, beautiful place, and we had such a good time. So we are looking forward to doing it again next year in the Dominican Republic. So that's really, other than being busy with all these different weddings that I have next year, um, as a business, that's one thing that we're doing. And you talk about, just being able to do different things. I'm excited because I know not only do I love weddings and working with couples on their getting married, but also providing a nourishing experience for couples, no matter
Okay.
what stage they are in their relationship, if they're dating, engaged, or married, giving them the opportunity to get away and reconnect with one another, in a beautiful place, outside of your home, away
Yeah.
from the kids, adults only, just the
Yes.
opportunity to connect one on one. So I'm really excited to see what the couples getaway is going
Yay.
to be like in July of next year.
So I'm so excited for you. I love when
Thank
people
you.
get the opportunity to do things that they want to do, but they get the opportunity to step out, and you seem not you seem, I know you're very excited about things to come. And I keep harping on the fact that there's so much growth. And so, I pray God's blessings over your business
Thank you,
continually,
friend.
and that it will grow leaps and bounds in ways that you certainly did not imagine. We know that with God, all things are possible, but when you step into a space and you start to see it come to fruition, it
Mm-hmm.
increases your faith more. And so that's a part of taking the leap, right? A part of leaping
Absolutely.
is to increase your faith, because we have the word, we read the word, but there's action that has to come with it too. And
Absolutely.
so you've seen God provide in this way, in a way that you never would have thought,
Never,
right? Because I
never.
know you have a Caribbean husband, so I know he probably was already saying to himself, and he's Jamaican too, so I know he was probably thinking how much hustle he's gonna have to hustle to bring home something. I already know. They were like, you won't have no job? Let me see if I can work 4 or 5 jobs, 6 jobs. I can do Amazon in the night. I
Girl,
can.
oh my gosh. Every time he talks about he should do Uber, I'm like, babe, you don't have to do that. We're gonna be okay. We are gonna be okay.
Girl, I know. You know, I live with one. And I am one too. So I know
Girl,
our people.
I'm like, oh, we gonna be
I
okay.
know how they are.
Like, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Just keep the faith. We'll be all right.
Right.
Everything's gonna be all right.
And God did such a, as he would have, because he set it up. And so there's
Yep,
no way he would have set it up this way and leave you um astray and leave you without
absolutely.
not provision. And so I truly believe and know that because you took that step, that there's so much more that he's working out in store for you. And so,
Absolutely.
when I see you on the front cover or seen on CNN or anywhere, we're like, yeah, that's my friend Menor. Big up Stephanie. That's my friend. But it was so great to have you on tonight.
Thank you
Your
for
story
having me.
your story is not unique in terms of people, taking new steps and doing different things, but it's unique because it is your story. And I know
Right.
that stories are so important because people can draw something from even just reading a comment. People are drawing something. Somebody even mentioned that they applied for 10 jobs or whatever amount of jobs and nothing has come to fruition. And so they're knowing that, it's almost like, okay, well, maybe it's a time for me to take something new. And I keep saying in this season that God is really opening doors. There's certainly a grace for us to step into new things. And we don't have to always have everything figured out, and actually we're not supposed to.
You're not
And I
supposed
think
to.
it's the scary but the most beautiful part about it, because then you can place a demand on God and say, listen, God, now you told me, now
Right.
you did
And I'm
this,
doing what you said. I'm
right?
being
I'm
faithful
not,
and
where's
I'm
the
being
check?
obedient.
Okay, BGE is knocking. FPNL, wherever you are, whatever light company you have, energy company you have, they're knocking every
They
month.
knocking.
Gotta live in
Yeah.
Maryland or wherever. It snows around here, so the light bill going up. What's going on, Lord? So you have people who step out, who are entrepreneurs, and they're not sure about it all. And
Hmm.
I'm sure you can attest to this, but I just want to encourage you that you don't have to know it all, and you're not supposed to know it all, right? Because
Right.
that if you had to know it all, then there'd be no reason for God, there'd be no reason for him to bring people, divine helpers into your life, so that you can to help you to navigate the own space. And then even in that, he fine-tunes so many things as well, because you're starting off in destination. God could drop a fresh new idea come in 2022 that you launch, that catapults you into a different place, or somebody
Right.
sees you because you've been diligent in what you, I forgot where the scripture is, but there's a scripture that talks about being diligent in your business and
Hmm.
it brings you before kings. It's not the one that says your gifts will make room for you. It's another one. So there are two scriptures that are sort of like that. But but for us to be diligent in our business, be diligent in the things that God has given us, God has called us, right? He will put us before people that we never thought that we could get before. And sometimes,
Right.
as believers, we didn't want to be in the world. I said, listen, the world got the money. Kingdom got the money too. But listen, the wealth transfer is coming, right?
Right.
So what is
It
it?
is.
The riches of the wicked are laid up for the righteous. That verse, I may be butchering. Go look it up for yourself, y'all. But and I may be right to know. But I say all that to say, it's important for us to really step in. So I know in this season, a lot of people are toiling with, well, what's my next? 2020 may have
Right.
been rough. 2021 may have been about the same as 2020. But if you live to see 2022, please, I implore you, go with what God has given you. I don't care what it is. Just go into it. Start small, make a plan, make some goals, take your time, and you will see how he gives you everything that you need for your
Yeah.
business, for your ministry, for whatever it is. He will give you every single tool that you need. That's the part that we don't have to worry about.
Right.
He gives us everything. The
Yep.
part that we have to worry about is stepping forward, because God can't do anything
Right.
without us doing it. We
Right.
have to do it,
Yep.
right?
And
Like, we are the
you have
vessel,
to
so we have
give
to
it
do
to
it.
him. You have to give it to him and trust him.
Yeah.
Trust that he's gonna make it happen.
Exactly. Trust that he will, right? I mean, if we, to be honest, if we don't have faith, right, it's like saying that God's word's not true and God's not true. And
Yep.
I know y'all ain't around here talking about God's a lie. I just know y'all ain't talking about God's a lie. So we're gonna take God as his word, because he's a sure thing. So thank you
Amen.
so much, Stephanie,
Thank you
again.
for
You all
having me,
please check her
Mona.
out. For those of you who are watching the replay, comment, share, like, check out Stephanie's page, follow her. If you have any specific questions, DM her, but it gives us an opportunity for us to support each other. It doesn't take much to support. Even people who
Absolutely.
shared this flyer in the mommies group that we are in, we thank you. For those who shared it in
Thank you,
different spaces,
loves.
we thank you. It doesn't take much to support one another. Even if you just do a share, right? You never know what that can mean for someone. And we want to make sure that when we see Stephanie on the big screen, we can say, hey, we know Stephanie. Yes, big up the Guyana Massive. I see you, Abigail.
Hey.
So thanks again, Stephanie. Truly
Thank you for
appreciate you. God
having
continue to
me.
bless you and your family. And you have a wonderful night. Take
Make
care.
bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.